Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So 2022, the midterms, we are less than a year away now, and things are really heating up. And Republicans, as expected, have taken a lead in the RCP generic ballot aggregate. They now lead by 4 points. A lot of those polls that are in there are close to R plus 10 right now. And there's a couple polls that are D plus 2, D plus 3. But a lot of those polls have like a D plus 12 sample. So it really doesn't even matter because it's so laughable. The Economist YouGov, they previously were at D plus 7. They oversampled more Democrats than they did last time, and they got a D plus 4. So they can't really cover up for their antics anymore, their shenanigans, their hijinks, whatever you want to call them. And Republicans are zooming up in the generic ballot. And they've really zoomed up significantly since the Virginia election, since what happened in November. And the energy is shifting so much to the point where we're seeing people switch parties because they don't really have a choice. Right here, Ryan Guillen, a state representative out of South Texas in the state of Texas, just switched parties. He flipped over to the Republicans. And this is a guy who is, a legacy Democrat. He focuses on small businesses. He's, fairly socially conservative and things like that. And he represents South Texas. We're seeing the realignment with Tejano voters down in South Texas. All these counties that moved 30, 40, 50, even I think 60 points in a couple of instances right in the 2020 election from 2016, which 2020 was not a change election, but still some localities saw massive shifts to the right. And we're seeing this throughout a lot of these working class areas in the state of Texas, even some Hispanic areas. You're seeing rapid shifts to the right throughout the state, but mainly in South Texas. And this guy who's been in there for quite some time represented Rio Grande City. I believe this representative is from the McAllen area, but he's, fiscally, center right. He's pro small business. He's pro life, and he doesn't really represent the Democratic Party's values very well. In fact, the Democratic Party doesn't represent his values anymore and hasn't for quite some time. I don't know why this guy decided to flip now, but he finally did because he knows that he is not welcome in his party anymore, and he hasn't been for quite some time. And we're seeing these districts down there in South Texas that could potentially be flipping. And we're at a point where it depends. I mean, Henry Cuellar might even lose his primary. He might actually, for all we know, decide to flip. But that would be interesting to see. Or he loses his primary and a Republican ends up winning the general election in that district. Because what we're seeing is a realignment in the Rio Grande Valley that we didn't really foresee before, but now people are switching parties. You have, politicians that have been there for decades and decades that finally have come to the conclusion that they don't have an electoral future as a Democrat. Therefore, they are becoming Republicans. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be super moderate Republicans either. I mean, this guy is a grassroots guy from South Texas. I firmly believe that he'll represent the people in the Texas State House to the best of their ability and be tough on immigration, to be tough on the border, because you have a border crisis. And a lot of these Hispanic voters in South Texas are Tejanos. They've lived there for hundreds of years, and they're not really super friendly to these illegal migrants that are crossing the border at record numbers that we're seeing throughout the Biden administration. So it makes perfect sense why this is happening. And this is not just in South Texas. South Texas is where you see it the most because you have the largest concentration of legacy Democrat Tejanos. Therefore, these are the areas that possibly could be voting more Republican than we ever could have thought even just 2 years ago. But still, I mean, in other places of the state, you have a lot of Tejanos that live in the metro areas as well, and they moved right in 2020, not as much as they did in South Texas, but they did move right. And in this district where Biden won by 14 in San Antonio, you're seeing Republican John Lujan in a 72%, a lot of that is Tejano, by the way, but 72% Latino district. And I covered this earlier when Republicans combined for a lead in the primary, but actually in the higher turnout election, which was the general election, which was the runoff, he ended up winning this district that Biden won by 14 points. So is this trend going to continue into 2022? I mean, possibly. Democrats are so delusional. You have Beto O'Rourke. Many people call him Robert Francis. Many people call him Beta O'Cuck. You can call him whatever you want to call him, but he ran a campaign in 2018 that energized Democrats in the state and then went completely off the rails. He was not really too good before, but as we know, but he went completely off the rails, started talking about taking people's guns away, started just moving super far to the left on every single issue. And you're not going to be able to run a campaign in Texas that is pro-mass immigration, that is pro-gun control to the max, and expect to do well. Now, I don't know who the Republican nominee is going to be. I mean, it is going to be an uphill climb for anybody to unseat Greg Abbott. I personally think that Don Huffines would be the best option. I don't know if he is going to win, but I hope that he does. But either way, Beto O'Rourke is not going to win. So it's laughable to see all these people that are going to be throwing their money in these races in Florida, in Texas, all these Republican strongholds where Democrats are going to try to waste their money and try to flip. And in turn, they're going to lose even more House seats while we're at it. I mean, even if it doesn't really matter who the nominee is, Beto is going to probably not even get within 5 points in the state. He may not even get within 10 points in the state. And that's really where we're at. I mean, the guy doomed himself in the 2020 primaries, and pretty much everybody sees him as a laughingstock. He might even not make it through the Democratic primary in the state at this point. I mean, he'll probably get the outside donations to carry him over the finish line, but even then, it's not guaranteed to be a slam dunk. And we're seeing this throughout, but Democrats know that blue Texas is definitely an uphill climb in 2024, 2028, even 2032 at this point, because of what we're seeing right now with some of these trends and potential suburban reversion due to the unpopularity of the Biden administration. A lot of people are going to say, well, the suburbs moved left because of Trump. They moved left because Trump's personality was too bold and brash, and they didn't like that because they saw him as, a little bit uncouth. And there is truth to that, obviously, but a lot of the suburban trends happened from 2004 to 2008 because the Bush administration was just so awful. And you may see a little bit of a reversion because of the unpopularity of the Biden administration. You're not going to see a full reversion in the suburbs. A lot of the suburbs have changed. They don't have the same demography they had, and obviously education, indoctrination is a big problem in a lot of these places, and you have a lot of these, culturally far left people that live in the suburbs nowadays, and they're not what they were 20 or 30 years ago, but still you may see some reversion. So it's going to be harder for Democrats to flip the state of Texas as well at large. But the fact is you're seeing a lot of people in South Texas switching parties, and they would not be doing this if they knew that blue Texas was imminent. Now, 2024, it doesn't really matter who the Republicans are going to run. Biden's not going to rebound. Texas is probably going to be an R+7 state in 2024. Even if Donald Trump does run again, Republicans are going to hold that state by roughly around 7 points now because Biden is not a generic Dem. It doesn't really matter who the nominee is. If they put up Harris, it's going to be Trump +10. If they put up Buttigieg, it's going to be Trump +15, because honestly, at that point, the Tejano voters are going to come out in droves for Republicans against Buttigieg. He's the worst candidate they possibly could run for a state like Texas. It would be abysmal, and we're going to see what happens. But either way, we're looking at these party switches. We're looking at these polls. We're looking at these laughable candidates running for governor, and it's pretty obvious that not only Texas, but America is due for a red wave, and it is coming. So the only question that I have to ask is, how are we going to do it? Because we can't be doing this with the worst people. I mean, we elect the worst people to represent us time and time again. Not everybody. I mean, there are politicians who are actually good. Some of whom, like Paul Gosar, get censured for a meme on social media by even his own party. This is the problem. I want to elect a Republican Party who goes on offense, who understands the game of politics, and will actually work to strip leading Democrats like AOC off of their committee assignments because they're rolling over us. They're fighting fire. We're like getting like a little pitcher of water trying to put out a house that's burning down at this moment. It doesn't work that way. People are always going to say, well, if we use their tactics against them, they're going to use them against us. And it's like, well, they're already using them against us. I don't understand what goes through these people's minds. But there's so many weak people, so many rhinos, so many neocons, libertarians as well, neo-libertarians mainly, not paleo-libertarians, but they're always the ones that are whining about electability, this, that, and the other thing. And we just need people that can win, but we need people that are actually going to do something. I'm not going to put up these losers because they might be able to win 2% more of the vote. I want people that are actually going to be able to not only win, but go out there and be effective and actually work to fix this country. Obviously, electoral politics can only go so far. But still, it is a vehicle that we need to use. And the red wave is coming. The question is going to be, is it a red wave or is it a rhino wave? We'll have to see. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.